One of the biggest requests you guys give me is to make a video on gender and sexuality terminology, and who better to explain this than a cisgendered white girl with heterosexual passing privileges? Anyone? Don't know what those terms mean? Hey, we're gonna get to know each other and we're gonna learn them. The definitions I'm gonna give you guys is pretty much like the general definition of it. However, there could be different interpretations of these words to whatever you think that it is, and that is totally fine. Let's talk about agender. Although this word has the word gender in it, it pretty much means without a gender, who doesn't conform to having a specific gender identity. Androgynous. Androgyny refers to appearing, as in like the way you dress, to be both masculine and feminine. It doesn't mean that you're trans or genderqueer or any of that. It is a way of dressing. Yes, you can fall under the transgender umbrella while dressing androgynously, but it's only how you dress. Androgyny is not a sexual orientation. It is not a gender identity. It is a style of fashion. Asexual refers to someone who does not really have an interest in sex. Doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have interest in relationships. There's plenty of asexual people who can hold romantic relationships. They just aren't interested in the sex aspect. Doesn't mean they're prude, doesn't mean anything. It just means they just don't have an interest in that. I don't have an interest in football. It's like that, but with sex. Then there's the term aromantic, which refers to someone who doesn't have any interest in having a romantic relationship with someone. They could still be fond of having sex, just not the relationship aspects. There's people who are aromantic and asexual. Just accept it. Don't be a butt. Bigender typically refers to someone who feels that they have both male and female personalities to their gender identity. Some days they will be more masculine, some days they will be more feminine. It really depends on the person and how they identify with it. Birth sex. Your birth sex is that little male or female thing that's checked off when you pop out and greet the world. It is clearly given to you based on what sex organ you have, not your gender, not who you are as a person, just what junk you have down there. Bisexual refers to someone who can have romantic interests in both men and women. Doesn't mean they're whores. It doesn't mean that they like both equally smacked at the middle. Sometimes you can like girls more, sometimes you can like boys more. Cisgendered. Cisgender refers to someone whose gender identity matches up with the sex they were assigned at birth in society's eyes. So pretty much if I came out of the womb and the doctor was like, it's a girl, and I do happen to identify as a woman, I am cisgendered. Pretty much anyone who doesn't fall under the trans umbrella. Drag. Drag kings and queens aren't the same as someone who is transgendered. It's pretty much the art of dressing as the opposite gender in regards to performance for drag shows, even just for funsies. If I were to dress up as a dude, it doesn't mean I identify as a dude. Just like there's plenty of drag queens when they're not in drag and not in costume identify as male. There are plenty of transgender people who also do drag. FTM. FTM is the acronym for female to male, term for transgender individual who was born with the female biological sex, but they identify as a male. They're not a lesbian, they're not a drag king, they're a dude. You don't have to have a dick to be a dude. If you think that, you are a dick. Gender. Gender is pretty much what you identify yourself as. It ranges from man to woman to genderqueer to agender to bigender to gender nonconforming to anything imaginable, whatever you feel comfortable as. Sometimes your gender matches up with your sex in society's eyes, sometimes it doesn't. No gender is more valid than the other. Here's a little tool that I made that might actually help you guys out. Your sex is between the legs. Example, like what genitalia you were born with. Your gender is between the ears, how your brain works, how you identify as yourself, and your sexual orientation is between the sheets. Do I need to explain more? Gender non-binary. Non-binary genders are genders that don't fit in the male or female category. They can identify as neither man or woman. They can identify as both, a little mixture, a bit of this, a bit of that. It really depends on the person. If someone does identify as gender non-binary, ask them what pronouns they prefer, how they feel about it, so you know not to accidentally offend them. Genderqueer. Genderqueer is a person who redefines gender. Sometimes they can identify as both man and woman, sometimes they can identify as neither. Once again, it really depends on the person who identifies genderqueer, how they interpret it to identify themselves. So once again, ask them about it. Gay. Gay used to be the term to identify men who like men, but now it's pretty much a big super umbrella for lesbians, bisexuals, queers, anyone. Like, I personally like saying I'm gay better than a lesbian because gay is an adjective, whereas a lesbian is a noun, and I'm a person. Heterosexual privilege. As many of you know, and if you don't know, that's cool, heterosexual refers to someone who is attracted to the opposite sex and gender. Man likes woman, woman likes man. Heterosexual privilege pretty much refers to the benefits that one can get for being or seeming to be heterosexual. Homosexuality. Homosexuality is attraction to the same sex or gender. Woman likes woman. Man likes man. Intersex. Intersex isn't a sexual orientation or a gender identity. It's the new medical term for hermaphrodites, because hermaphrodite was pretty offensive if you ask me. 1 in every 2,000 people are born intersex, which refers to having both male and female genitalia. It doesn't mean you're gay. It doesn't mean you're a genderqueer. It doesn't mean you're transgendered. It means you were born with this genitalia. Sometimes people do get it genetically modified by a doctor at very young ages, some at very old ages, some keep it. It depends on the person. Ask what pronouns they prefer. Lesbian. Lesbian refers to a woman who is attracted to women. MTF. Pretty much FTM, but backwards. It's someone who is born with male genitalia who identifies as a female. Pansexual. Pansexual refers to someone who is attracted to another individual based on who they are on the inside, regardless of sex or gender. It's very different from bisexuality, which a lot of people kind of categorize both of them as the same thing, but it's not necessarily the case. Someone who's pansexual can like someone who is transgendered or genderqueer or gender non-binary. It depends on who they are on the inside. That's really all they care about, not what's in your pants. Passing. Passing is when someone who's transgender passes as the gender that they identify as. So if someone was biologically born a female, but they identify as a male, and they go out as public dressed as a male, and they pass, like you don't assume that they are a female, you assume that they're a male, that's considered passing. Post-op. Post-op refers to a transgender person who has had a sex reassignment surgery. Post-operation. They had the operation. Someone who is biologically born a man, but identifies as a female, pretty much their male genitalia into a female genitalia. For female to male transgender people, they typically get top surgery, which is when the breast tissue is removed and they're given like a flat chest like biological males have. Pre-op refers to a transgender individual who has not had a sex reassignment surgery but does intend on getting one day. Not everyone who is transgendered gets a sex change operation. Some don't even take hormones. It depends on the person. It doesn't make you any less of the gender you identify as, whether you take hormones or you don't, or you want surgery or you don't. Pronouns. A lot of you know that I highly advocate asking someone what pronouns they prefer. Most women identify with the pronouns she, her, hers. Most men identify with the pronouns he, him, his. Someone who's gender neutral or gender non-binary sometimes prefer the pronouns ze, here, they, them. It really depends on the person, and you never know what pronoun someone does identify as. Might be transgendered and prefer male pronouns, or they may prefer gender neutral pronouns. Just ask the person. I'll typically be like, hi, my name is Stephanie, what pronouns do you prefer? And then they tell me. And then I don't have to worry about offending anyone or using the wrong pronouns. It's great. Queer. For me, queer is actually the hardest term to define. It's such a broad term. Queer is originally a synonym for the word odd and was used as a slur for those who were gay or transgendered or pretty much didn't fit in the monogamous heterosexual norm. Queer is also an umbrella term for those of the LGBTQ community, kind of like gay is. Queer can refer to someone's sexual orientation, where someone can be attracted to people regardless of their gender or sex. They can like it based on the outside, the inside, all around the corner and back. I recommend looking it up. There's a bunch of definitions and they're very long, so unfortunately I can't get it onto this video. Google's a great thing. SRS. And SRS is the acronym for sex reassignment surgery, pretty much a sex change operation. Sexual orientation. Sexual orientation is someone's sexual preference for whatever people or persons or genders that they are attracted to, such as being gay, straight, bisexual, pansexual, queer, yada yada. Transgender. Pretty much anyone that isn't cisgender. It's an umbrella term for those who are female to male, male to female, two-spirited, bigender, agender, genderqueer, gender not conforming. Transsexual refers to a transgender individual who has gone through a sex reassignment surgery so their genitalia can match their gender. So if you guys have bared with me through this entire video, congratulations. Your vocabulary might have been broadened a bit. Yeah, don't forget to ask someone what pronouns they prefer. Don't forget that there are multiple genders, not just two. Try to recognize what society privileges that you have. Eat your vegetables, stay in school. If there's any term or terms that you still are confused about, look them up online. It seriously is great. Like, I just found out there is a gender Wikipedia. Yeah, the links for my Tumblr, my Facebook, my Twitter, my YouTube, my merch store, all that fun stuff will be in the description down here. If any of you guys want to address your gender identity or your sexual identity or whatever identities you do have, leave a video response and I will love to lurk your face, and I'm sure everyone else will too. Bye guys!